Commuting is boring. Standing around waiting to get to your 9 to 5 paycheck, surrounded by herds of others, all doing the same. Lawyers, baristas, YouTubers. YouTubers? What's a YouTuber?
Interesting question, right? You recognise the website name, but what's with the extra letter slapped on the end of it? Usually this sort of extra letter nonsense is used to name users of certain sites, such as a Facebooker, a Twitterer, of a now endangered species, a MySpacer. Ugh. But maybe it means a little more than just an extra letter when you see it in various new media business magazines saying it's a 6-figure job possibility. The future of media, as stated by Wired magazine in 2013. So let's ask that question again. What is a YouTuber?
By my definition, a YouTuber is somebody who has a passion to make things, and that's the reason why they do it. They're not getting paid, they don't have any other reason to other than just because they want to. And that to me is what a YouTuber is.
I guess to me a YouTuber is someone who predominantly creates content exclusively for YouTube. I think the word YouTuber also has connotations of getting involved in all the YouTube drama and who said what to who, but to me it just means someone who makes YouTube videos full-time or part-time.
My understanding, my idea of what a YouTuber is someone who makes content specifically for the YouTube platform and gears it towards people who come to YouTube to see that. So you can have people like... So celebrities will upload videos and put them on YouTube, but they're not YouTubers. Whereas you'll have people who create content and think, I know this is going to get X amount of views and subscribers from YouTube. So that's what I think a YouTuber is.
I'm sorry, how rude of me. Let me introduce you to the YouTubers. Actually, I'll let them do it themselves. Yeah, grown-ups after all.
My name is TomSka Ridgewell. I'm a 23-year-old digital media creator person, and I run a comedy YouTube channel called TomSka. The comedy part is arguable.
I'm Daniel J. Layton. I'm an actor / YouTuber vlogger type person. I'm an internet actor.
My name is Jack Howard, and I'm a comedian / filmmaker type person, mostly on YouTube, so it doesn't really count. So you put a little joke in, and then you are sold as a comedian.
So that's our ragtag bunch of YouTube boys. Each with varying opinions on the matter, each consider themselves YouTubers in a different way when it comes to it as a career. Now, a lot of you might have a rough idea what species today we're investigating. But how did this intriguing creature come to be? How do you become a YouTuber?
So I was encouraged by my friend Jack to start using my talents and putting them on YouTube. So if I want to be an actor, the only way that people are going to be able to see me is by putting myself out there, and what better place to do that than YouTube? And that's why I started.
When I was about 15 years old, a friend of mine edited together a Gears of War fan trailer. Basically what he did was change the music and change it to What's That Coming Over Hill, It's a Monster, and I thought that was amazing. I was like, how did you do that? So he showed me this amazing program called Windows Movie Maker, which I was blown away by, so I decided to try and do that myself. So I started making fan trailers for things like Spider-Man, and one of the things I did make went viral. It has about 4 million views on an old channel of mine, and after a while I got bored of using other people's footage, so I wanted to use my own and kind of started making my own films. Shit at first, and then they got better, hopefully. So that's how it happened, basically, just a progression of wanting to make more stuff and naturally wanting to progress.
I never really planned on becoming a YouTuber. What happened was I always wanted to make content online ever since I was about 11 years old, and I just started back in like 2001, 2002, kept going, and eventually YouTube kind of came along, so I just started putting my content on YouTube, and eventually that just became the dominant platform that I put content on.
I became a YouTuber because I wanted people to see what I had to offer. The industry that I want to get into, you know, the performance industry, the show business industry, is incredibly oversubscribed. There are so many people who want to be a part of that industry that you have to do something to make sure that people can see you in the crowd and make sure that you stand out from all the thousands of other people who are trying to do the same thing as you.
I remember the first time I saw a YouTube video that made me want to make YouTube videos, and it was Make Me Bad 35. I think that's what he's called anyway, Damien his name is, and he basically used to make these silly videos where he used to speed himself up and reversed himself, and it was just one of those things where I looked at the technical thing he was doing and going, he's done that on his own, I could do that. So it was that element of looking at somebody else who wasn't a big celebrity, someone who just did it because they wanted to do it and it looked accessible, so I did it. And that's essentially it, because somebody else did it, I did it.
I guess YouTube became a job for me around about the time that I started getting really popular on YouTube. I was very early to apply to the partnership program, which meant I could make money off it. I did that the day I turned 18 years old. But I guess it became a job when it was the thing that I did to make a living. The day I told my parents to stop giving me pocket money while I was at uni because I could now pay my own way.
It's not actually a job for me right now. This is a big misconception. A lot of people assume that you make videos for YouTube, you are a YouTuber, and thus you make loads of YouTube money. That's not true at all. Some people who have been there from the beginning and have worked very, very hard and have built numbers up to the point where they have millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of views, yes, they will earn money and this becomes their job. But for us people, as smaller YouTubers, we don't make money from the content we produce. That goes out there, people view it, and every now and again you might get a small, tiny, like almost a token paycheck from the ads that are on your video. But for the vast majority of people trying to become YouTubers or trying to be YouTubers, this isn't the main source of income.
I don't think I can put a date on it. It really just kind of, I feel like I'm getting away with it. Like I'm still just kind of like doing what I want to do, and people are somehow giving me money to do it. It doesn't really ever just happen, not for me anyway. It just naturally progresses, and kind of like everything else, like with when your audience grew, it naturally progresses. It doesn't all just come at once. The same as like with it becoming a job, it just naturally snowballed until I just didn't really need to do anything else. I finished university and then started getting like little presenter jobs here and there, and then as time has gone on I've had to do that less and less and less because I get to do what I actually want to do, which is like making things and acting in things and all sort of stuff.
Getting away with it, Jack Howard. Let's hope he doesn't have to repeat that after a serious allegation or two in the future. Now, this whole YouTuber thing really seems like an out of control hobby, doesn't it? Especially saying that most of these people actually started it as such, a hobby. Something creative and fun to do on the side. And it still is for a lot of them. This makes defining it as a job difficult considering how different it is to a standard 9 to 5. It mimics freelance in a way, but more fun. Funlance. YouTuber sounds better. I wonder what YouTubers think makes their job different. I wonder how this whole job and hobby hybrid works out for them. If only we had a select few YouTubers to cut away to get these answers from.
What makes this job different is because it's, number one, I wouldn't really call it a job, and I'm sure most people in this sort of position wouldn't ever call it a job. Number two is because we don't have set hours, we don't have a place we go to work, we don't come home and then have the night off. You can always have things going around in your head. Like I do most of my work sometimes when I'm just laying in bed trying to get to sleep, and I can't stop myself. I'm really tired. I'm very tired. I need to sleep soon.
I guess what makes my job different to others is that, well, for one, I'm answerable only to myself, yet simultaneously to nearly 3 million other people. So it's kind of a weird situation where I get to decide what I make, but my audience decide whether or not they don't like it. So instead of working to appease a boss, I'm working to appease like 2.7 million little bosses, and that's a very unique situation to be in. And I like it, mostly. If
anyone asks what I do, I would usually just say I'm a freelance filmmaker, because they don't understand. Like if you say I make videos for YouTube, they're like, oh, do you have a cat? No, I make, what I think anyway, quite good quality stuff for YouTube. At least I try to. I take it quite seriously as you can take comedy.
I consider certain aspects of my job to be freelance, specifically when I am working with a client or a company who wants me to advertise their brand or push their agenda, then I'm freelance, but otherwise I am more of just I'm both self-employed but also a boss. I am the CEO of my own country. I'm the CEO of my own company, so there are a few people that work with / for me, and that's very strange. So I'm kind of everything. I'm freelance, self-employed, an employer.
The way it is, it's kind of giving us the power to try and do something about it. A lot of times I think young actors, wannabe actors, feel incredibly hopeless. They feel like helpless. There's not a lot that they can do themselves to try and force their way into an industry. They can try and get experience and they can desperately bang on the doors of agents, but every now and again you feel like you're coming up against a brick wall. Whereas YouTube gives you an opportunity. It kind of reaches out a hand and says, if you want to, you can use this platform to really make yourself known and not have to rely on anyone else. And it's up to you whether or not you take that helping hand. And for me, it's really important that I do. And as my channel continues and I continue to grow as a person, as an actor and as a YouTuber, I want to harness the potential that YouTube is giving me and really use that to sort of move forward and make this happen for myself rather than waiting for someone to take a chance.
I think YouTubing is an incredibly stressful job simply because you never really know what's coming next. You know, for one thing, I am my own boss and I'm a terrible boss. So that has a lot of instability in it. But I think one of the most stressful things about YouTube is that it's constantly changing. You never really know what's coming next and how the site's going to change and how it's typically going to change to act against you. So I really don't know if I'm going to be able to live off YouTube in 6 months, and that's always the case. So I very much lack stability. I'm constantly quite worried about where my next big idea is going to come from and also when it's going to arrive. But luckily these days I write down every little idea I have, from every film idea to little tiny line of dialogue I could maybe use in something in the future. So I can look at that whenever I'm feeling like I'm running low on ideas. But yeah, I have absolutely no idea when inspiration is going to strike.
First of all, being a freelance, anything is stressful because you physically don't know for a fact where your next paycheck is coming from. You have to go out there and you have to find that work and you have to hope that someone comes up and says, hey, we've got this opportunity, do you want to do this? And you say, yes please, and then you do it and then you get the money and then you hope that'll tide you over to your next job. That's stressful as it is, you know. But add on to that the fact that I'm trying to make my dreams come true in an incredibly competitive, in an incredibly oversubscribed, and in a fairly unjust, I suppose, industry. That's an added stress. Add on to the top of that the fact that YouTube is becoming incredibly competitive as a platform, and that new YouTubers and people who are desperate to try and get subscribers are popping up every single day. It's really stressful. You stress hoping that, you know, I haven't had a video out in 5 months. I haven't had an idea in 3. The last video I got 2,000 views. The last video I really put loads of effort into, you know, tanked, you know. But then someone else who kind of wakes up and says, hello, here am I, I'm talking to a camera, and they all of a sudden get 300,000 views and tons and tons of subscribers, and you think, well, what am I doing wrong? And it can really get in your head, and it does stress you out. It's an incredibly stressful environment.
I would say also the most stress comes out of not being able to come up with ideas. That's where like you start getting frustrated because you've done it so many times before, but you can't remember how you managed to come up with those before. So it just kind of happens every now and again. And that's the most asked question I get. How do you come up with your ideas? I don't know. And I'm trying to come up with a new one now. And you asking me that is just making me more stressed because I can't think of one. I'm always worrying about what's going to come next because when you've done something that's done really well, you have that immediate pressure in your own head. No one else is ever thinking about it and you know that. So you're quite self-aware about it, which makes you even more annoyed at yourself. But you want to make something that's bigger and better when sometimes it doesn't need to be bigger. It doesn't need to be kind of more extravagant. You just need to have that same spark, and that sometimes is what you forget that you need, even though you know that it's going to come at some point. You want to push it out, you want to kind of like force yourself to kind of think of it, and that's the most unnatural way of working, but for some reason you still try and do that, and that's just the woes of creativity. What a hard life we lead.
I've had such incredible opportunities in my life that people my age with similar aspirations to mine just wouldn't have had, because of some creative and talented people who were able to harness this platform years before I even considered it a platform to use. The world around YouTube, the culture of, you know, following YouTube has grown to the point where I can perform live on stage at events to, you know, hundreds of people. I can go to a convention and sign posters with my face on them because people have seen the stuff that I've acted in. I can become this little minor, very minor celebrity within this little world.
For me, at least, YouTube hasn't really changed my life because I grew up with YouTube. It's always been a part of my life, or at least it has been for the past, 7 years? So it sounds horrible, but YouTube hasn't changed my life. YouTube just is my life. I guess if anything, it's made me popular.
I know that my life would be so much different without YouTube. I know I wouldn't be as motivated as I am to be a filmmaker without YouTube. I know that I wouldn't have the friends that I have without YouTube. Yeah, we met at university, but the thing we bonded over was YouTube, and I met my best friend, one of them anyway. One of the best friends. And I met one of my best friends, Tim Houtkeet, Tim H on YouTube, through YouTube, because we both like Spider-Man. And then last year we made a series together called Project Library. We got to make that because of YouTube, and there's no way it would have got made without that. There's no way. I get to do a lot of the stuff I get to do. I get to travel around the world. I get to go to certain events and perform and do certain things. I got my agent because of YouTube. Like, all this stuff would never have happened if I didn't have that outlet to kind of be creative and kind of show people that this is what I want to do and why I should do it. Ooh, little nice. You can put that right at the end of the documentary. That'd be good.
Wait! Stop! Jack Howard is not in control of this documentary. This isn't even the end yet. The future is unpredictable. If we even had the chance to know a tiny bit about a definite future, we'd all take that opportunity, wouldn't we? And with new media advancing at such an unstoppable rate, the main question that is on most YouTubers' minds is whether or not YouTube is going to thrive or fall. And especially with recent news that Yahoo is setting up a new site to compete with YouTube, to fix all the problems the YouTube community are always complaining about. In the next year or two, will a YouTuber be a relic of an older generation? If so, where does that leave the YouTubers themselves? So, without instilling them completely with paralysing amounts of existential fear, let's ask the YouTubers themselves what they think of the future, both of their own careers and of YouTube itself. Back to the Jack chair. Because the poster. Back to Jack.
A lot of people always ask where you kind of think you want to head. And I don't really want to think about it, because a year ago I was still in university, I was doing my dissertation, all that sort of stuff, and now it's my job to do this sort of thing. So like, so much has changed in a year, and I wasn't planning this. I didn't have a clue where I was going to be, so I kind of make it up as I go along, and that's been working so far.
At this current point in my life, I have absolutely no idea where my career is going to take me. I don't know if I'm gonna sink or swim. It's always changing so much. So to be honest, I could in 5 years end up being a games developer or a comic writer or a producer of an animated sitcom. I really don't know, but I'm interested and terrified as to where my life is going to take me next.
I don't see myself becoming a huge, mega, hundreds of thousands of subscribers YouTuber, but that's fine for me. I just want people to know who I am and what I do, and I think I will start doing that more in the coming months, really.
I honestly have no idea where YouTube is heading, because as I said before, the site is changing so much and all of the time. So I mean, for all I know, in a year, YouTube could be completely irrelevant and be replaced by something in the same way that MySpace was replaced by Facebook almost overnight. YouTube could either develop into some kind of big, giant conglomerate of internet, television / entertainment, or it could just dwindle away into nothing. I really have no idea. I hope that it sticks around, because otherwise I'm out of a job.
I think that YouTube changes drastically so often. Like a couple of years ago, like sketch comedy was the thing. Julian Smith was the one to be like, and now it's British YouTube vloggers. They are the ones. They are the ones that work. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And gaming obviously is a massive thing, but who knows? Like, I think that with the news of BBC putting BBC 3 online, like, it seems to me that online content is becoming more and more a place to put things. Like, they're not looking at it as a secondary place anymore. They're looking at it as an actual feasible area for things to happen. So who knows? Like, hopefully more money online, because hard work at the moment for the amount of views. Come on. But like, who knows? Like, who knows what's going to happen in the future? Because I think it's so new that you can't really predict it. Like, at the moment, I've said this before, but like YouTube and online video in general is still at the black and white stage of television. Like, it's got so much left to explore. You know, you've got colour, then you've got widescreen, plasma, HD. You've got all these stages of television, and right now the internet is still in black and white. We still have no idea what's left to come. My one and only advice for someone who wants to even try doing YouTube is don't bother, not worth it. Don't step on my toes. This is my land, my turf. You could be better than me, so don't do it, please. Seriously though, do it. Like, what on earth is stopping you? Like, there's nothing, if you really think about it, there's nothing to stop you from doing this, because it's accessible, easy to do, and if you are passionate for it, you'll end up doing something with it. You won't ever stop. Like, people who say, oh, I want to do this. Oh, the most talked about thing apparently is, I'm going to write a book. And apparently loads of people say I'm going to write a book. There are loads of books written, but not as many as people say that they're going to. The people who want to do things are going to do it. So if you're scared for some reason of YouTube, why? Like, some of the most popular people in the world on YouTube are shit. You could be the small one that's really, really good. And people love those. People love the underdogs. People love saying, oh, you deserve so much more subscribers. That could be you. Huh? But seriously, don't start YouTube though, because that's my turf. I'm the only one doing comedy on YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, in the world.
If I were to meet someone who told me that they were contemplating YouTube as a career, I'd probably say don't, simply because I think the best way to get into YouTube is to go into it with love and passion and not with this goal to make money, because then typically what you end up doing is just watching all of the good stuff and saying, I'm just going to make the stuff that's already popular, and you just make soulless garbage, and it probably won't bring you any satisfaction. I mean, it might bring you money, so okay, actually maybe you should get into it then. Sometimes I like to think of being a YouTuber as kind of like being a celebrity, but without a lot of perks. And that's not to say that I'm not grateful, but whereas, you know, celebrities have all of this fame and success and adoration, they also have the luxury of this sort of distance from their audience. Whereas as a YouTuber, it's just me and them, so there's no buffer between us, and that means that I can get incredibly affected by negative comments or criticism, and it can just really tear your soul apart. So that's, I guess, a drawback of being on YouTube, at least.
I would say to people who look from the outside in and see YouTube and go, what's that about? Don't brush it off, because the people who are on YouTube who are committed, who are constantly challenging themselves and constantly creating new, interesting, dynamic content, these are the people that are going to be taking over Hollywood and your TV screens and your entertainment industry in the next few years. The new generation is there, and if you're looking for the next big thing, you don't have to go much further than youtube.com.
No, that would have been a good ending though, right? Shame I have to go and ruin it with my face. Being a YouTuber is a gift that is accessible to everyone, from your gran to your little brother. Everyone can don that title, whether or not they want to call it a job or not. It's also a hobby that has the potential to move you forward in life, a potential stepping stone to a dream career. And it may even keep you financially stable long enough to eventually call it a job. But take this with a pinch of salt. Don't go into this with a head full of unrealistic ideas of fame and money, because it will be your downfall. Like in most careers, really. Unless you're a banker. A famous banker. Is that a thing? As Dan literally just said in the arguably better ending than mine, YouTubers themselves are the future of media. Because whether or not it is a job for them, they're using their time to work on their craft. A craft they're passionate about, whatever it may be. And the community on there helps people develop creative relationships that are so valuable in this media industry, to the point where they can band together to create incredible pieces of work that rival those of TV and film. If I had to leave you on a certain note, it would be this. Just have fun. If that fun eventually turns into a career, then you are one of the lucky ones. Hopefully this entertains you as well as informed you about this unique and fascinating job, and those who are lucky enough to call it that, or even just be a part of it, really. At this point in the video, a YouTuber would tell you to like, comment and subscribe. But this is a film, and not a YouTube video.
Steve, come and look at this.